Hello, my name is Simon Adams of Moonstar Board Games. In this series, I like to take a look at games which I either really like or even love, and talk a little bit about why I like the game so much. Now, these are not videos of how to play these games. These are videos that are just talking at a high level about why I like the game, hopefully in the aim of encouraging you to go and check out, okay, how does this game play? What are the details of the mechanics of this game? And to hopefully, as a result of that, then give the game a shot yourself. This week, I decided I want to take a look at some of the games that got me like further entrenched into board gaming. So the last video I talked about Race for the Galaxy. Race was one of the first hobby board games that I ever played. It was certainly the first hobby board game that I fell in love with. But the second hobby board game that I fell in love with was Catan. Now, I don't think I have to explain what you do in Catan. Catan has reached kind of a zeitgeist um, in just the meta of humanity that I think most people have heard of Catan or know what Catan is about. Catan is by Klaus Tuber, of course. I don't know who owns the rights to it now. It was Mayfair or May something at one point, and it was sold. And nah. Yeah, it's owned by someone now. Um, but Catan was released in 1996. I didn't play it until maybe 2008, because it was the next year after I played Race, and that was when Race first came out. So quite a while ago now, like 15 years ago. Catan is and a negotiation and resource management game in which you set out a grid of tiles. Each of those tiles correlates to a number. If you have a settlement or some kind of building on uh, that hex when that number is rolled on a dice on 2d6, then you collect the resources that correlate to that hex. So basically, a bunch of hexes. They're wheat, sheep, whatever. You put houses on it. If you roll a dice that has the number of that hex, and you get that resource, and you do that to build more things to get more points. There are a couple of interesting development cards which allow you to. They just give you a victory point, or they can be a bit take that-ish by causing other people to give you cards of theirs. The game lives and dies on the desire and willingness for the people around the table to negotiate. Because in order to build houses, you need to have sets of resources. So a city is 3 ores and 2 wheat, for instance. And so if you only have 2 ores and 2 wheats, you can either wait and hope for the dice roll to give you ore from a particular hex, or you can negotiate. You can say to the table, "Hey, I need some more. I have this. What can we do some business?" So it lives and dies on people's willingness to negotiate. Some people don't like to negotiate, and arguably, I would say that I don't know if you need to negotiate to be good at Catan. I will also say that I think it is possible for I no, it's not just possible. I think that the best Catan player at the table will, on average, win most of the Catan games. The game has a very it's it kind of hides the skill that you need to play Catan behind the negotiation and the randomness of the dice rolling for resources. But the game rewards people who can play probability play. Like, what's the probability of these numbers coming up? Do I spread bet by having my settlements over a bunch of different improbable numbers, right? Or do I have a focus down on a more probable number like an 8 or a 9 or a 6 or a 5? So you can go a couple of different routes, and it can be quite strategic, not necessarily tactical. I wouldn't say it's a tactical game. It's a strategic game. The tactical acumen comes in the negotiation and being able to take advantage of the resources you have in order to get the resources that you can't get, but which someone else has. I have Catan. I have it in an art station box, a big wooden box. I have the 5 to 6 player expansion. I have cities and knights with the 5 to 6. I have traders and barbarians with the 5 to 6. I have seafarers with 5 to 6, and I think that was all. I even have like Catan the roll and write, but we're gonna talk about that. That's a completely different game. It's okay though. I actually didn't mind it. Uh, yeah, I do not have explorers and pirates. I have trader and barbarians, season knights, seafarers, and then 5 to 6 expansions for all of them. Wow, there's a lot of wow scenario packs. Jeez, they are milking this hard. If you're gonna buy Catan, buy the base set. I would say if you're gonna buy an expansion, buy cities and knights. Um, if you really want to go, I wouldn't go past seafarers, cities, knights, and traders and barbarians. Seafarers adds ships and islands. Cities and knights adds cities and different structures that you can build. Um, and then Traders and Barbarians is a kind of an interesting expansion because it has a bunch of different modules. One of those modules, which is why I say that Catan is a deceptively skill-based game. One of those modules replaces the dice that you roll for resources or for which resource triggers with a deck of cards, and that deck of cards is the statistical likelihood of numbers being rolled if you rolled 2 dice 100 times, right? So you're going to get more sevens and you'll get 12s, right? 2 6. There's more combinations of 2 dice, two numbers 1 to 6 to make 7 than there is to make 12. There's only one combination, it's 2 6s, but to make a 7 on 2 dice is a 3 and a 4, a 4 and a 3, a 2 and a 5, 5 and a 2, 1 and a 6, 6 and 1. I think that's it. Oh, I'm so tired right now. But Catan is such a it's a fun fucking game. It really is, and it got really popular, and I feel like people have forgotten just how good it was because I feel like a lot of hobby board gamers have moved on to the next game. Right? They're like, it's always the next game. It's what's coming next in hobby board gaming. But the truth is that I don't think another game has done negotiation as well as Catan has for its weight since it was made. Now, I'm sure I don't play every single game released every year. There are thousands. I don't have the time for that. I will for sure. And if you have a recommendation, please put them in the comments. But I have not heard certainly of a game do negotiation as well as Catan at the weight of the Catan board game. Games like Sidereal Confluence have come out, and then Chinatown. I haven't played Chinatown. I'd really like to. But those are much more involved and more complicated games. Those are quite heavy games, especially Sidereal Confluence. Like I say, I haven't played Chinatown Wars, but I understand it can get quite heavy. But just simple rollicking, the simple rollicking fun of negotiating with your friends in a casual environment is just it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Catan really is a lot of fun. And I'll say this, and it's no disrespect to the people who I played with, but they weren't board gamers, right? I played with um the first time I played Catan, it was a it was a 6 player game with seafarers and cities and knights, and it was with a bunch of like they uh it's a place in North Carolina where they rented jet skis and kayaks and canoes, and it was like the crew from there, like cool people, very very cool people, really cool people, but really relaxed people too. Like think of the surfer type. That kind of group of people were playing this game, and it was just a really relaxed and nice experience. Catan can get heated. It can get real heated. Don't get me wrong. It can get really heated because of the nature of negotiation. If you feel like someone is not, it's very easy for someone at the table to say to another person, "Don't trade with him because," or "Don't trade with her because," or "Why won't you do this? This makes it's no sense why you're not doing this." Those kinds of comments can happen quite a lot. Not for me. I'm a good guy, although I think it. I think it a lot. I have thought a lot while playing Catan. Like, why wouldn't you trade this to me? We are neither of us are winning. You need what I have. I need what you have. Can we just do some? Can we work? Can we do some business here, please? Um, that will happen for sure, but it is a very relaxed game. It's not You're not actively other than some development cards like the Monopoly card. I think is the main one. It's not a very take that ish game. It's more of a passively aggressive game where you're trying to move block people. You're trying to passively prevent people from being able to do what they want to do. Not just because it's in your best interest, but because it's against their best interest. It's that kind of game. It's a Euro game through and through. I haven't played the Catan in space. I can't remember what that's called. It's got the rocket ship and all that. I've heard very good things about it, but this is just talking about Catan. Starfarers of Catan. I've not played Starfarers, and I have not played the Starship Captain either. I'm just talking about base Catan. It's a great game. It's really good. Now, there's a couple of things to consider. Like if you've never played Catan before and you're like, well, I've heard about it. I kind of want to give it a shot. Base game Catan takes like 2 hours, and it's quite simple. It's a fairly straightforward game. The beauty of the Catan line, I guess, especially now, is that you can make it a medium weight game. You can make it a heavy weight game. In fact, if you play Catan with Seafarers, Cities, Knights, and Traders and Barbarians, there is a lot going on. And if you play that with 6 players, this 2 hour game just turned into a 7 hour game. Okay, so just bear that in mind. The expansions are really nice. I personally won't play without them anymore. But I mean, I know that's a lie. It's been like a year since I played Catan. If someone was like, "Hey, just want to play base Catan," I would say yeah. Not even probably. I'd fucking say yeah all day, and I'd have a fucking great time. But if I was setting up a game of Catan, like they would have at least Seafarers or Cities and Knights in it. Um, I would also I would also pitch to the table why we should use the cards instead of the dice from Traders and Barbarians. But you will have a blast just playing the base game of Catan. To be frank, if you play it enough and you kind of you're over just how restrictive and cramped that board can feel, adding in Seafarers, adding in Cities and Knights will help. Seafarers specifically. Seafarers will expand the board out and give the players more room to breathe in terms of what they're doing. As a result, that will cut down on the interaction of players because no longer are there roads stopping other roads from being built, etc., unless that person is being a shitebag. Um, but it does add the space to allow you to play more of a casual game. It will last longer, but it's more of a casual game. Cities and Knights. Again, it adds. Oh, sorry. Yeah, my apologies. Yeah, Cities and Knights also increases the victory points that you need to win from 10 to 13. So it increases the length of the game. Yeah, playing time 90 minutes, not in your world. Catan is not a 90 minutes game. Like base Catan is probably like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Um, if you're playing with just people playing casually, like if you're playing with people who know the game and they just want to, yeah, you can get through in 90 minutes. But the charm of the game is in the negotiation, and you want players to be able to have a 5 minute chat, right? It's amazing. Like it's for the rest of the table, it's amazing entertainment watching two people trying to negotiate when they both can come out on top, but both are too stubborn to allow that to happen, and so they have to be the only person that comes out on top. And you'll be sitting there for 5 minutes, like this is kind of crazy. And also, I feel like the thing about Catan that is underrated, because it is a negotiation game, is kind of the monopoly shitebaggery that you can do in it. Like, you can send a text to the person over there on the other side of the table, like, hey, if you have ore, I'll trade with you. You don't have to negotiate openly. I don't think that's in the rules anyway. Certainly, fucking, I don't. I game the fuck out of it. I'll be like, here, let's go for a cigarette. Let's have a talk. People talk about that a lot when it comes to like Twilight Imperium, for instance. People will say, "Oh, that's like a really cool game because these these alliances will form over the table or in back alleys and that kind of thing." And that happens in Catan for sure. So yeah, the by the base, how long? 60 minutes. Fuck. Wow. Base Catan is all you need to start with. If you find it's constrictive, you're not playing it more than like once every other month, I would say. Don't bother with the expansions. If you do go with the expansions, I'd add Seafarers and Cities and Knights. Traders and Barbarians is very nice, but that's further down the line. I don't know the rest of the expansions. I would get the 5 to 6 player expansions only if you know that that's going to be a once in a blue moon experience. It's going to be an epic day of Cataning, but it's going to take a while. And I get it. People in the comments go like, "No, why do you play so slow? It's like a really quick game." Sure, sure. But I do love Catan. I still have it. I still have the entire box, and I'm not one of these guys that are like, "Well, I've moved on to better games with better mechanics." I don't like the randomness. I love the randomness of Catan. If I'm playing with just casual people, I'll put the dice in all day. If I know that people know the game, then we're doing the cards because the cards are still random. It just stops spiking. It stops. It stops. How do I say? Statistical anomalies from forming, which causes people to win, not because they played well, but because the dice just help them. And that's a feel bad for, like, if I win that way, I feel bad because I don't feel like I earned the win, and everyone else feels bad because they don't feel like they earned the loss. So yeah, Catan, it's really fucking good. I actually still love it. I still love it to this day. I might actually pull it out this weekend. I have it in a big art box, like a big art box. The cards are all beat up to shit because it's been played so much. I can't. The editions I have were first editions, and I sad because I got rid of all the boxes and none of the cards were sleeved, and it's been played so much that the game is a little bit of a mess. But wow, so many good times playing Catan. It really is that great a game. All right, this is Simon Adams of Moonstar Board Games. Have a very good day.